Hello Harley riders, my name's Kevin, the K and DK Custom Products. This is Devin, the D and DK Custom Products. And today we're going to be talking about the proliferation of electronic components on the new Harley Davidsons. So recently Devin bought a VVT Generation 2 Street Glide with the 121 VVT in it and that huge, I think it's a 13-inch screen, all kind of electronic devices on there. And about a month or so ago, in the last month, he had a problem with it related to the electronic stuff on it, and I'm going to let him share what happened and how it was resolved and how much it cost.
So I was going to upgrade my audio system. I may as well start from the beginning. I was going to upgrade my audio system, and I bought the 6x9 speakers that are the upgrade for the saddlebags. And unbeknownst to me at the time I purchased them, of course I installed them myself, that required an update for it to work properly. That was only in the instructions after I got it home and got them installed that I saw that. But I put them in and they worked, but I knew I needed to do that update, and I had a recall on the bike that I needed to take it in for anyway. I didn't want the bike to be down for too long, so I was going to go ahead and do like the initial updates that I could do. Just because usually you have to start with one and go through the whole process. I kind of wanted to go in, make it as easy as possible and get in and get out.
And these are updates that Harley says that you, the end user, can do, and they give you the links to go to do the updates. So you weren't doing anything that Harley said, oh, you should have the dealership do it. They give you instructions how to do it, and you were doing it according to the instructions.
Correct. It was pretty detailed instructions. I built computers and that kind of stuff, deal with a lot of software stuff. So I felt pretty confident in following those instructions and doing it. And in following those instructions, I got through, maybe 5 or 6 steps. Basically, I had to do one update first and then do another one on top of that. In doing that second update, it just froze up in the middle of the process. And after that, I could not get it to basically do anything. The screen went blank. There were some troubleshooting steps that were on the Harley website. If you run into trouble, try this, that. I tried all of those things and just nothing happened. I didn't want to make the situation worse, so I just called it quits and was going to take it in for the warranty work. So I did that, carried it in. They actually wouldn't tell me if it was going to be under warranty or not. It was kind of a new thing. I didn't understand why it wouldn't be. I didn't do anything wrong or anything like that, but they didn't just outright say that. I didn't know what the process was going to be. But 5 or 6 days later, they finally get back with me and say they got the bike ready. I go in and it was a $4,000 bill to them, but obviously, it was warranty for me. So.
And what cost $4,000?
Just that screen.
They had to replace the whole screen?
They had to replace the entire screen.
So when you were doing a software update per the instructions, it actually damaged or ruined the screen where they had to replace the whole screen?
That's what was said. That's what happened.
Look like a new one to you?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a new one.
I had the same screen.
Was not the same
screen.
Yeah, obviously it was different software because there were different component, internal components, stuff with the software that was different, obviously. But also, the screen had a new peel off paper thing on it, and it was a new screen.
So I want to play a clip right here from a Gixafu video where he's basically saying these new bikes that have all these electronic devices on them, they're new now and they're under warranty. And you can even get an extended warranty. But at some point, these new bikes with all this electronic stuff, they're going to be older bikes. So let's just play a little clip from his video right here.
All the technology is great, but when it doesn't work, it can really cause some issues. The Skyline OS, the Skyline operating system, everything is on that screen in the bike. And this year with the redesigned Road Glide and Street Glide, they have completely done away with all the analog gauges, and now everything is run through the Skyline OS system. So if that were to fail, you're basically looking at a blank screen. If there's ever a problem, Are you even going to be able to ride the motorcycle? You're basically going to have nothing. Key on if the bike even starts, but you're not going to have any gauges. You're not going to have your fuel gauge.
This whole subject is related to a video that we published just a few weeks ago that we'll put up in the corner here about electronic devices on the Harleys. But the main thing is these bikes now have, and let me just read to you all these acronyms. Bikes now have ECMs, BCMs, an ABS computer, an RDRS computer, an IFCU computer. They have linked brakes, and here you can see a picture right here that we'll put up on the screen. They have over 1 mile of wires on these bikes. It is crazy how much electronics are on these bikes. Now, if you have a bike where the rings go bad or the cylinders go bad, you can replace the rings. You can hone out the cylinders or replace the cylinders. What you can't do, if something goes wrong with your BCM, body control module, something goes wrong with that, you can't fix it. And like what happened with your screen that went bad, that's not repairable. The whole unit has to be replaced. And electronic components, hey, if you need to get a new brake lever or a new clutch cable, I mean, you're not talking about a lot of money. But if you need to get a new electronic device, do you remember how much the BCM was on that? I think 700, 800?
It wasn't that much. It was around 350, I think, just for the BCM. But even back then, I believe that BCM had to be registered to the bike in some kind of way. The ECM had to talk to the BCM, I believe, but don't quote me on that. I know that is the case on all the newer ones. But even that old ago, I believe the BCM did have to be married to the ECM for it to talk to each other properly.
And that had to be done with the digital technician at the Harley dealerships. It's not something that you could just install?
Correct.
Wow. So with all these electronic devices that are being installed on the bikes, we have a vulnerability where we can't just repair them in our shop with our socket set, our hex, our open-end wrenches, our screwdrivers. You can't repair it. And that's why, I imagine it hurt you to take your bike in to the shop and have them fix it, because I know you like to fix stuff yourself.
Obviously, that's why it ended up happening, I guess, in the first place, is because I wanted it to be there as little as possible. I would rather do all the work that I can, and that's why I was actually updating the software as far as I could on my own.
And I don't know if you remember, back about 6 or 8 months ago, I told you that that I talked to someone at the local dealership, and that there were 6 bikes in there with dead screens like yours had. 6 bikes in there with dead screens, and they had been sitting there for months because Harley was back ordered on the screens. So then when you took yours in,
you had just told me about that, so I was bad worried that I wasn't going to have my bike for a while.
Yeah, but they weren't out of stock. Harley came back in stock on them. But, basically, I think we're setting ourselves up to have our bikes held hostage by Harley, because there's so much stuff that is on the bike that is proprietary to Harley. These computer parts, it's not... I don't know anybody else. I know there's other people making ECMs, like say the Thundermax, okay? But are there other people making BCMs? Are there other people making the ABS control components, the RDRS, the IFCU, which, by the way, IFCU stands for?
Infotainment Control Unit.
Right.
That's the unit that went out on mine.
So, which is it part and parcel of the screen, or they just call it that because the screen is part of the IFCU?
I believe the IFCU, I do not know this for a fact, but I believe the IFCU componentry is in is part of or part and parcel of the screen itself. I believe all of that.
So it's not like your iPhone where if your iPhone screen goes bad, you can replace just the screen. You don't have to replace the electronics behind it.
Correct.
But on as of right now on the Harleys, the screen and the electronics are not separate.
I've heard conflicting information on that. I've heard of where the screens have went bad, and mine, bricked itself. It was black. It wouldn't come on. My bike would still crank and run. I have heard of some of them when the infotainment screen went out, their bike wouldn't even run. I mean, that is where you choose, what mode you're in, sport mode, all that kind of stuff all goes through that. And
it's also where you tell if you have oil pressure, if you're in neutral, how fast you're going.
Every gauge, period. Obviously.
There's not a single analog gauge on the bike. It's all in the screen.
Correct. And I wouldn't have had any of the dummy lights or anything, any indication of anything the bike was doing while I was driving it when that was bad.
You have a way to change anything.
Correct.
So.
Also, it ran poorly.
Oh,
it didn't actually run 100% proper.
You were able to start it up, but it wouldn't run normally.
Yeah, it was almost like an limp mode. It didn't say anything, obviously, because it wouldn't come on. But it didn't rev as fast, or I don't know, it was like almost in a limp mode. I rode it onto a trailer, and then I rode it into the Harley dealership. That's all I did. I put it on a trailer to trailer it there because I didn't know. I mean, I had no gauge. I couldn't see anything. I didn't, if there was a problem, I wouldn't have known it, and I didn't want to take any chances, so I trailered it.
So whether it's an ECM, a BCM, an ABS, RDRS, IFCU, the link brakes, the anti-lock brakes, whether it's any of those things, you can see from the prices we put up on the screen, they're not inexpensive, they're not repairable, they're only replaceable. And so then the challenge becomes, how long does a computer last? Have any of us ever owned a computer for any period of years where eventually that computer either quit working, it just quit working, or maybe it didn't quit working, but software upgrade after software upgrade after software upgrade made it so that the hardware that was getting the software upgrades was not strong enough to handle the software upgrades. And then, of course, availability. Who are you going to get the parts from? And like we were saying, you can get a ECM, the Thundermax ECM, but there's nobody else that I know of who is currently, and I don't know that they ever are going to be making replacement BCMs or replacement IFCUs or things to whatever electronic components are controlling the ABS or the linked brakes. So you have a big challenge there in that computers, whether it's your phone computer, your laptop computer, your tablet, your desktop, they are not designed to be repaired as a rule. They're designed to be replaced.
I agree with that, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a minute because, like Jixerfoo said, the Harley-Davidson and motorcycle market usually trends around 15 years behind other automotive industry. And how many 15-year-old vehicles do you see going down the road with ABS still working and all of those things still functioning on those vehicles? Those electronic components, unlike our iPhone, which is more designed to be replaced because the software updates make it slow, all of that stuff, you're a little bit more locked out of some of the electronics on vehicles in general. They have a planned life, and all of those updates come in, and it doesn't really want to go beyond its limitation, therefore locking you out of that, making your vehicle a brick. And I would kind of expect the motorcycle market to follow the same trend in those aspects. Now, again, I'm not saying that we're not going to have a problem in 15 years with these bikes. That's not what I'm saying. But if we're okay with
maybe
it, I don't
not
know
from
if
software updates, like on a computer, but what about when it just fails. A solder broke, a circuit board broke, from vibration, heat, cold. I mean, who believes that the computer they have or the phone they have is going to be still functioning in 10 or 15 years? I don't. I usually can make one of my computers last 6 or 7 years. I think it's a time bomb that's ticking that nobody even knows or has thought about, that is ticking, that these new bikes are going to be used bikes. So I have a 2009 Sportster and I have a 2003 Sportster. Anything on those bikes can be fixed with basic tools. There's no computers other than on the 2009 there's an ECM. But there's no other computers on there. And what's going to happen to all these bikes? They have 4, 5, 6, 7 different computers all talking and working with each other, and then miles, at least over a mile worth of wires. Which wire is going where? So
that's fair. And maybe I said that in a different way. Maybe I can say it another way that maybe it'll make more sense. Maybe the problem that we're going to be facing with these bikes is maybe a more generalized, bigger problem than we even realize. Because I know for me, I'm thinking about all of this right now in regards to motorcycles, because the motorcycles that we're riding are going through this technological change right now, it seems. Well, our caged vehicles have already done that. Now, your truck that you have, if your TCM goes out, what are you going to do? Are you going to be able to fix that? No, you're not. You're going to have to go to Chevrolet, get a TCM, and have them program it back to your truck.
I don't have to go to Chevrolet, man.
Oh, you've got a Ford. I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay. Yeah. If I had a Chevy, you wouldn't have to do that. But
so yeah, you're right. So do you think that the electronics on the motorcycles are going to last as good as the electronics on cars and trucks?
That's obviously yet to be seen, but I want to hope so. But
it seems like there's maybe more vibration and more exposure to the elements on a motorcycle than a car or truck, but maybe not. Maybe we'll turn around and in 10 or 15 years we'll be shooting a video about how great the Harley electronics are and that they're just bulletproof. But your bike that had less than a year on it locked up. Now you said that there was something that you were going to do to hopefully not have that experience again.
Yeah, for me personally, to try to limit potential problems in the future, is I'm going to, that was a new bike, software was fast developing for it. I waited 6 months on the bike. It was the first year model, the bleeding edge, if you will. And, so there were some software issues, in it from when I got it. And those updates are fixing that. Well, during my warranty period, I'm very much hoping they're going to get all those bugs worked out and it's going to get to a software state that I'm happy with. And once it gets there and my warranty's gone, that's probably where it's going to stay. Because
so you won't do any updates after that?
Nope.
Because you think the update was what uniquely caused the dead screen that you had?
I do believe that it would have continued working fine had I not done that update or never updated it. And maybe it was going to always fail when it got updated. But the update is definitely a contributing factor of mine failing, which is a software electronic issue.
Now going down another rabbit hole, let's say that you're at, and of course you always have the option of getting an extended warranty. And if you folks don't know what we recommend for an extended warranty, if you choose to get one, we'll put a video up in the corner about it. But let's say that you don't get an extended warranty and you have a situation where you have to go into the dealership where they have to update the software. And they go to update it and it bricks on them and locks up. Now you're out of warranty. The dealership was the one doing the software update when it locked up and now the screen has to be replaced. Do you think that they're going to pay for that? They're going to give you the bill for that?
Well, if they get on my bike and drop my bike and damage it, then they're liable for it. So if they're doing, work that they say they have to do, then that's going to be on them or between them and my lawyer.
Don't do any software updates is basically, once you don't have a warranty, you're going to stop doing software updates yourself and not let the dealership do them either unless they're willing to cover any unintended consequences from it. And here's what's crazy. We're talking about motorcycles, but we're talking about software updates. That's the whole thing that's just crazy. An engine, a clutch, gears, a throttle. Let's go. No, now we're talking about software updates. So while ranting about software updates on motorcycles, I almost said computers, on motorcycles, there's actually a thread that I was reading on a forum just a couple weeks ago, and the first post was a guy who had started his bike and the oil light came on, that he had no oil pressure, and so he didn't hear any clanking or anything like it was starting for oil, but he went ahead and shut it off, and then he turned it back on, waited for everything to initialize and started it back up, and no oil light. He obviously checked the oil too. The oil was not low. So he was wondering what's up with that. And then a bunch of other people piled on, and I'll just read you what the gist of what 5 or 6 guys said, basically the same thing as what I'm going to read here. I had it happen on my 2019 when I was in a hurry and did not let the software boot up and let the gauges do their dance. Shut it down as I thought there was an issue. Restarted, letting the gauges do their dance, and all was well. Chalked it up to a glitch in the system. Have not had any issues since. No codes either. So what people are finding is a lot of times, and I've seen it happen on my bike, I turn on the key, I go ahead and start it up, and then either I can't turn my traction control off. If I want to have my traction control off, it won't turn off. Or, something else on the screen isn't acting normal. So then I have to shut the key off, turn it back on, let it go through its dance, let everything initialize, let the screen all come up and populate, then start it. And so people are learning to do that because just like you can't use your computer until you turn it on and let it go through its whole boot up process, you can't use it until then. You got to do the same thing with the bikes because of all the different computer, I was almost going to say garbage on here. I know that not everybody dislikes it, but it's just crazy that we are talking about computers on motorcycles, but it's a necessity. It exists. It's only going to exist more and more.
Do you want to hear the story about my CVO and the boot up sequence and what had happened to me a few times?
Yep.
Well, I was actually went to a pharmacy to pick up my medication one day. I was I'd cut the bike off, walked in the store, I walked back out. I was friends with one of the ladies that worked in there. She was actually walking in, and I went to start my brand new CVO bike, and it's just turning over, will not start.
It's cranking?
The starter motor was cranking. Everything seemed to work. I mean, I could hear the fuel pump, kicked on. It just wouldn't start. And the newer bikes, you can't even let off of the starter. It's like a 10-second. You click it once, and it'll continue trying until it decides to
start on a car.
Yeah, until it decides to stop. And went through that process, twice, cut the key off, back on. I'm hearing the fuel pump kick on, try to start it again, nothing. And I cut the key back off, let everything just die off, wait, 3-4 minutes, trying to let everything reset, cut it back on, let it go through its whole sequence, then it fired right up. I don't know exactly if it's because of the boot up sequence or a certain time. I did try to do some testing and stuff. This was before my update issue and the IFCU being replaced. But I couldn't just do it on command. I would cut the key on and then just try to crank it immediately, and it would crank. It wouldn't tell me what mode I was in. It would just be grayed out, but it would crank and it would run. And
so even when it would crank and run, if you did it too soon, some of the features
would not work properly.
Were not working. Wow. Well, so what do we do? We're not going to change it. As the video that I linked in the beginning, we'll be putting it in the description below also, is that there is a hunger, there is a desire for more and more technology on these bikes. Technology, read computer, circuit boards, things that are not repairable, they're only replaceable. So what do? I know what I choose to do. I choose to have a warranty. I don't have any twin cams or M8s without a warranty. I just choose not to. I've paid thousands and thousands of dollars over the decades for extended warranties, but if you look at how much I paid in and how much I've had covered, I'm over $10,000 ahead. So they're not making money on me, so I'll always have an extended warranty, but those extended warranties only go for so long. And I have a high mileage rider friend who has 123,000 miles on his 2020 Ultra. And he went to try and get an extended warranty from the same place I get mine from, Jim Palmer, and it's too many miles. He can't even get it and then even if he had gotten it before he got up that high in mileage, it only goes to a certain number of miles. At some point, nobody's going to give you an extended warranty. So for the millions of people out there that have bikes from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s that are completely serviceable with the tools in a normal shop, and they have no problems going forward at keeping their bike running, but what are people going to do when they can't get warranties? You're not a believer in extended warranties, right?
I modify my stuff too much usually for any factory warranty to work, but I actually am planning on getting the extended warranty through Jim Palmer on this one.
You're going to cover it on this one, okay. But we all know people who don't believe in extended warranties, and probably the majority of Harley owners are not getting extended warranties. And especially what is someone who's buying a used 2024 bike 5 years from now? What are they going to do? Are they even... I don't know what the solution is to this, other than do we just accept that computer stuff breaks and that's just going to be part of the expense?
That's a good question, and is that any different than buying a 15-year-old truck at this point, used? Just because of the electronics and the technology that's in that's running 15 years behind. Is that a difference? Does that matter? I don't know. These are all things to consider.
Well, Mary actually got a new truck back about 4 or 5 months ago, and because trucks are so expensive these days, we were looking at used trucks. And when we were looking at the used trucks that have computers in them, and then looking at what it would cost for an extended warranty on that truck because it has no warranty, and then we were looking at the Mavericks, which were the least expensive new truck you could get, and it just made sense to buy a new one with the warranty. When I buy a Harley, I just factor in the cost of the extended warranty, the real warranty. I don't even believe in the Harley factory warranty because they just always look like when you took yours in, they weren't even guaranteeing you that it was going to be covered under warranty.
Yeah.
And so I don't trust the Harley warranty. And I just factor in when I get a new bike that I have to spend, you know, $1,200-$1,500 on a warranty so that I don't have to be concerned about all the electronic stuff on it that could fail.
That very well may be the answer 15 years from now on these bikes.
Except for you can't get an extended warranty on a 10 or 15-year-old bike.
I know, but instead of buying a used vehicle, you didn't. You bought a new one because you factored it in, or even if you couldn't, you got a new one. That might kill the used market because of that thought process.
So, like everything else, you think that it's headed toward disposable?
More and more things these days are. I hate to be to say that or even suggest it, but it seems more and more things these days are just a throwaway.
This is obviously a big subject. I don't feel like we've covered it completely at all, but the video is already getting pretty long. So please put your comments down below of any questions that you have, any thoughts that you have regarding all the electronics on these bikes, any solutions that you have. Because I'm looking at 10, 15 years from now, if I want to go out and get a bike right now that's 10 or 15 years old, I'm not going to hesitate to do it and modify it and fix it up and fulfill a dream that I have of making a bike look or sound or ride this way. I'm comfortable to do that with a bike, with a Harley that's 10 or 15 or even 20 or 30 years old. My thinking right now is in 10 years, I'm not going to be comfortable doing that with the 2024 bike. So please put your comments down below. We're obviously going to have to do another video on this, exploring it in more detail. Any comments that you have, questions that you have, subjects that you have, things that we have not thought of, please put them down in the comments below, and we will address those in a future video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share the video with your friends. We want to hear from you and your friends on this subject. We're really looking forward to all the comments. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, if you could, we would appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit the notification bell. That way you know when we have a new video coming out. We appreciate you watching.
Y'all ride safe out there.